Counselor Johnson,
Here.
Counselor Foster,
Zoom, zoom here.
Counselor Segola,
Here.
Coffee's nasty.
Counselor Locke,
Here.
Mayor Becker.
Here, present.
The quorum is declared.
Okay, any modifications to the agenda?
No, sir.
Made me a cup of coffee and it's like drinking oil. Approval of consent agenda, minutes of regular meeting November 5th, 2020. Review and approval of accounts payable.
I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda, the minutes of regular meeting November 5th, 2020. Review and approval of accounts payable. Or is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Johnson,
Aye.
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have nothing under proclamations, communications, and appointments. So we have citizen comment, special presentation, scheduled appearances. In order to be included on this portion of the agenda, please fill the appropriate form with file the appropriate form with the city clerk no later than by noon on Monday prior to the meeting. We have a thank you for the SLV REC.
Forrest or George, did one of you want to do that one?
Well, we could. Actually, we're hoping that Lauren could be here this evening.
He is actually on with us this evening.
Oh, good evening. Well, you know, sorry, I couldn't see that. I love Zoom as much as the next guy. Well, basically, we would like to thank him and REC for a number of contributions they made to the community this year. You know, doing the job they regularly do during the pandemic, obviously, they've done a great job with that. But they've also provided some very good assistance to the city, both on the police side, where actually Lauren was able to make his way through the giant maze of CDOT contracting. You might recall the city council authorized us to work with REC, way back in the spring sometime or earlier, so that we could have some essentially traffic cams on a number of locations downtown. And, you know, council asked me to do it. I worked on it and, you know, got the contract all the way to CDOT, where they said, well, we're working on a new contract document. Someday, you know, soon we'll get it fixed. I'm not sure exactly the timeline on that, but Lauren was able to talk to some people and get that resolved. And so those cameras were installed, which is a great aid to law enforcement in looking at the downtown area. So we wanted to applaud it for that. And then also REC kind of came to the rescue on a little bit of an ad hoc project we had, which was the golf course netting. That's a pretty, you know, that turned out to be a really good project on the 7th hole. It solved some issues for the neighbors. I think the city attorney might attest to that, but also other neighbors who were having problems. And really, REC stepped up. They found the poles for us, and they actually placed them in a pretty delicate spot, and it's treated that. And so that was really exciting, and we're actually looking forward to a similar project late in the spring, I believe. I don't have the exact date where we're going to do something like that down here off of the 8th hole, because there is some bleedage over, you know, we're going to do some course design, but right now we're going to work on some net stuff. So, you know, REC continues to be a community champion and a great partner for the city, and we just want to recognize them for that.
That's really awesome. Lauren, thank you very much. And the REC for everything that you guys do. We really, really appreciate you guys.
Oh, we're happy to do it.
There you go.
Okay. Forrest, did you have something, or Nita, did you have something I know we got something to give them, I believe?
We do. It's at the office, and I will get it to Mr. Howard. It is a plaque with appreciation, shown of appreciation on it.
Perfect. Thanks again. Discussion on ordinance 907, Raina Bowser.
She here?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and all else who are in this Zoom meeting this evening. My name is Raina Bowser. I reside at 70 Pioneer Road in Monte Vista. Our business is located at 157 Adams. In the last few months, I stated in previous council meetings within the last that I am here to speak against not allowing a church in the downtown retail business area. However, I do believe that ordinance 907, as it was originally written, was a bit too broad. My vision, and I believe others' vision for the district in downtown is centered more around about 3 blocks of Adams Street, several blocks of First Avenue, and a couple blocks of Broadway, Washington, Jefferson, Madison, and Monroe, and also Jackson Street. There are locations for your consideration in the commercial highway district to the east, the south, and to the north that would be very appropriate place for a church. One of them would be the old co-op building across from Love's, most recently occupied by Big John's Furniture. That space is large enough for a church to hold many types of activities and will offer plenty of parking. There are locations on the north and south gun barrel that could also serve a church very well. In your consideration for moving forward, I would urge everyone to just vision what it would be down to have a thriving downtown area. Let's not settle for anything less than what we envision, what we want our town to be. If we are to develop business growth in our downtown community, our commercial business district, we have to ensure it remains business oriented. In the past, I've mentioned the term complementary use. When planning successful business districts, the experts considered businesses that complement each other. Many folks came forward and voiced their concerns for our downtown area, an area we would like to see as a thriving retail area, both by signing a petition and others who approached some of you on council. These folks represent people who live in our community, shop in our community, own businesses in our community, as well as people who own buildings and rent to businesses to occupy in the community. People who have been involved in our community in various ways over the years, people who believe that a church in the commercial business district is not responsible economic development. I hope you choose to respect the wishes of people who care about our downtown commercial business district. Remember, the definition of commercial business is defined as an entity that sells goods and or services for a profit. A church, and actually many other entities that are some occupying some of the businesses downtown, do not fit this widely accepted definition. Remember, we have zoning regulations in place for a reason, to protect and grow our business community and our community as a whole in a responsible manner. Those funds generated by sales tax revenue depend a lot on what the rest of our community looks like visually. Both the citizens and the Planning and Zoning Committee have voiced their concerns in a very clear manner. This issue has never been about Councilor Foster's character. This issue has never been about stopping the freedom to worship. This is simply not about filling an empty building just to have it filled. As you vote tonight, I urge you to vote to move a step closer to a thriving downtown retail district. I wish you all the best, and I pray that you can all come together and do what's best for all of us. And I hope we can agree on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Raina. Okay, we'll go on to citizen comments. City Council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit the comments to 3 minutes. Council will not take action at this same meeting. And if you have joined the meeting by video, audio, and wish to speak, please hit the raise your hand button. If you have joined by video and are connected to audio by phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. You will be allowed to speak after City Clerk unmutes you and has given you the okay. Remember, you still will only be allowed 3 minutes.
Well, I can't find my raise the hand button here, but I do have somebody here who wants to raise the hand. So consider a hand raised for Margot over here who's beside me. You need it? Do we have permission?
Yes, you can go ahead and speak.
Okay, thank you. Join the chair.
That makes me very nervous. Hello, everybody. I am not a techie, so I am really spooked about doing this. But I just would like to have the council consider removing something of such an important issue as not allowing churches to be in commercial areas. Every one of our churches, except maybe the Catholic, is in a commercial area. Therefore, what guarantees do they have to remain there? What about the businesses that are downtown that are not retail businesses? What guarantees that they can have there? I just would like the council to really investigate, research. There's a non-conforming use clause. There is check out our Lupia, which is a Religious Land Use and Institutional Person Act of 2000. There's just issues I wish you all would consider, look at before you make your final decision. Because once you go down this path and this is removed from the ordinance, what are you going to do if somebody wants to do something and we have no way to implement it? So that's just my concern. Just be aware of what you're doing and research it thoroughly before you commit to something this important for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. Nita, do you have anybody else on there?
I do. Give me 1 second and I will unmute Kathy Lorenz. Kathy, you can go ahead and unmute.
Okay.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you. My question tonight is really concerning how quickly the first reading of this proposal was passed without, I believe, a lot of thought or investigation given into it. And I have a question that I would like to pose to the 5 city council members. If this same amendment or proposal had come forward and it had been in regard to the display of an American flag in exactly the same zoning areas, following exactly the same standards that were brought forward at the last meeting, would it really have been a 3-2 vote? That really concerns me because when I went back and looked at the tape, when I went back and reviewed everything, there was no legal guidance provided to City Council during the meeting regarding the broad spectrum of this proposal. And that is what we have a city attorney for. Nothing was said. There were no pros, no cons. No, this could happen. What if this would happen? Are people grandfathered? What happens if one of the grandfathered churches closes and then eventually wants to reopen? There was really no thought given to it, and it passed on a 3-2 vote. What if it was one of our other First Amendment rights? Would the council have been so quick to pass the proposal on first reading in a 3-2 vote? That really concerns me, that more thought wasn't given before the first reading was voted on favorably. So that is my question. I would just like to know what kind of legal advice was given to council and how much thought was really put into it. And unfortunately, I'm going to be really blunt and say, was it brought forward because there were hurt feelings over the church being allowed the variance? And that's all I have to say. Thank you. And I truly appreciate what you guys do. But I think more thought needs to be given to some of these things, because we don't want to end up like Nazi Germany did, just because people were willing to blindly go along.
Very good comment. That can be based on a lot of things going on in this country right now. Thank you, Kathy. Does anybody want to answer Kathy back on that as far as legal counsel, as we've taken our time to now do some processing? Mike, did you have any comment?
Well, I do think, you know, it would probably, because of the comments and the folks that have come forward, you know, I do think a public hearing would probably be appropriate before actually deciding on the ordinance. And, you know, in a small town, you get a lot of rumors and information, and you don't know where and what folks really think is going on. And so, you know, I guess it would be my thought that we ought to not actually have a vote on the ordinance, but maybe set it for a public hearing and get a lot of folks to come in and make their comments as to what they think should happen here. And then the council can maybe make a more informed decision.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
I do have, Raina has her hand raised.
Okay,
Raina?
I guess I would respond to Kathy on her comment about a flag. A flag would not interfere or change anything in a retail area. And I guess in a broader sense, you know, Mike's right about the rumors. We hear that if there's 50%, like a church would burn down, and it was more than 50%, then it would go back into non-compliance and it would have to go back through some sort of review process before they could reopen that church. If they lost a minister and maybe they were closed for a year or so, then they would have to go through that process again. And I don't know, in redoing this ordinance and moving forward, I don't know the number of that ordinance or if there's more than one that address that issue. But if you could possibly make churches, existing churches, maybe exempt from that once they're a church, they would always be a church and would be allowed to be a church regardless of their circumstances during hard times. Maybe that would be one change you would want to put in your ordinance. So that was just my comment about the ordinance.
okay, thank you, Raina. Nita, do you have anybody else that's got their hand raised?
I do not.
Okay, well, my wife has something, so I'm gonna step out of my spot and let her sit down. And it will end this citizen comments with a positive note about Christmas, so hang on.
Hi, guys. I've been standing there with my hand raised for a long time. I already talked to Rob this morning. I just wanted to kind of brief you guys really quick on what's going on with Christmas decisions that my committee and I have made. I realize that we have not, as far as I know, have not gone officially orange in Rio Grande County. Of course, it's COVID, so things can change in 15 minutes.
Whoa.
Based on the way things are going and the numbers are going, we have decided, and thank you, Nita, for your idea, because I was really distraught. I did not want to cancel this thing completely. I really feel like we need some happiness in our lives right now. So we are going to do what is called a parked parade. Still going to take parade entries like we normally would, but people would just park them in assigned places once I get all of the entry forms back all over town. Our thoughts will probably start kind of in the city hall parking lot and direct people there to pick up a map, and I'll have Santa sitting and he can socially distance wave to all the kiddos. They'll get a map with a star everywhere there's floats. My thoughts is I'll have a couple set up right there at Chapman Park across from the Mormon church to kind of get them started. Co-op is getting involved this year, so we will literally have people going all the way from Chapman Park clear out to the co-op. So no North Pole, but we're still trying to make it as fun as we possibly can for the kids. Still going to really push the house decorating contest, because that's something else we can incorporate while people are driving around looking at floats. They can go look at houses. And of course, my businesses too. I'd like to get them to decorate their windows, even though we won't be on Adams Street. I'd still like to see some festive windows. So that's all I had. I don't know if anyone has any questions, but I'm kind of excited. I think it'll go well. So that's
Good.
it. All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more comments, Nita?
No, there is no one else.
All right. So resolutions. Resolution 2020-08, a resolution amending contribution rates to the FPPA defined benefit system administered by the Fire and Police Pension Association for re-entry police officers for the city of Monte Vista.
So that's me, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So if you'll recall, about 2 years ago, City Council voted and approved for our police department to re-enter the FPPA retirement program for our police officers. In April of 2021, or April 1st of 2020, Colorado General Assembly entered into their 2020 legislative session and decided to pass House Bill 20-1044. There is a lot of information to this, but basically what it boils down to is FPPA in the state of Colorado mandate what has to be put into these pension plans. And so with that House bill passing, we are required to change our contribution rates for not only the employer, but what the employee has to do. So resolution 2020-08 is required for council's approval in order to comply with the FPPA requirements for the pension plan. If we don't pass it and don't approve it, there's various consequences. The biggest one would be that our officers would be probably kicked out of the plan. So this is something that really needs to be passed, and we kind of really don't have much of a choice on it. So I would ask that a motion be made to approve resolution 2020-08. And then if anybody has any questions or further discussion, we can talk about it then.
I would make a motion to approve resolution 2020-08, resolution amending contribution rates to the FPPA defined benefit system administered by the Fire and Police Pension Association for re-entry police officer for the city of Monte Vista.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2020-08. Is there any more discussion on it?
Ms. Signs, can you address what the amount that incurs on the city when we pass this on an annual basis?
Yes, so it just kind of depends. We have 3 officers who participate in Exhibit A, and you can see in Exhibit A that has the greatest changes. Each year from now until 2029, it will go up 0.5%. And so in 2023 or 2030, excuse me, the city's contribution rate for those officers will be at 13%. So it's done in incremental steps, and it's really hard to say an exact number of how this is going to affect the city, because as police officers pay raises or pay increases go through, then obviously so is the city's contribution rate. The one way you can look at it is by taking an officer's salary and basically taking that percentage that's listed in Exhibit A and multiplying it by their salary. That's going to tell you what it is. To make it simple, with the budget that you guys just passed, if you take a look at the line item for police pension, that will increase roughly 0.5% every year on 3 people's salary. The statewide hybrid plan is not changing. It's 10%. It always has been 10%, as well as the local money purchase plan will continue to be at 10%. So the effect to the city is very minimal in regards to the fact that it only affects three or four officers. So it isn't, when you think about 0.5%, it's not great. If those 3 officers leave the city, incoming officers are not allowed to participate in that plan. It was a plan that was designed only for those officers that did a re-entry with us back in 2019, 2020. So the chances of it affecting the city greatly is going to be minimal. Now, one thing is, this could happen again. State legislation could go back and say we want to increase it even more, and it could affect other retirement plans that the majority of our officers participate in. The thing with FPPA is that it offers our officers a great benefit for retirement, but it is very richly designed. So we as the employer don't get to decide what we contribute to it. It's state mandated.
Okay, so I don't have all those figures and stuff in front of me. Ballpark this, if you would be so kind. Are we talking, less than $5,000? Are we talking $10,000? I mean, just rough range it for me, please.
You're looking at probably anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000 every year.
Thank you. Okay, very good. Thank you.
I have a question, Jen. When we talked about this a while back, I remember it was as I recall, a phenomenal program. What I guess I didn't understand or missed or forgot is that it's just for these 3 or 4 officers. Can you fill us in on that? I understood initially it was for anybody that wanted to come in. Maybe there was another similar program that I'm confusing it with, but I'm thinking this was the one. Forrest talked about that at some length when it came about.
Yeah, so the police officers were given the opportunity to either go with FPPA or they could stay with the city's normal retirement plan, which is through ICMA. So if the officers chose to go to FPPA, they had 3 different policies that they could choose from, or 3 different pension plans that they could choose from. So of our police force, we had 3 officers that chose to enter into this main Exhibit A where most of the changes are coming from. And then all incoming officers are required, they don't get a choice as of to what plan they can go into. Per the contracts and per the rules and regulations of FPPA, any incoming officer has to enroll in FPPA. They do not have a choice. And again, like I said, they mandate what we have to pay. So again, like I said, this is basically just, this resolution is applying just to those officers that participated in that re-entry plan. It doesn't affect the entire police department as a whole, because there's different police officers in different pension plans. If the officer was here in 2019 and 2020, when we decided that they could re-enter this, they got that choice. But all incoming officers do not have that choice. They have to enroll in the state mandated plan.
I'm more interested in seeing the officers benefited than the cost to the well, within reason, of course. But I mean, as long as it's a legitimate benefit and the other officers have similar benefits, I guess, that I'm not aware of, just with different programs, right?
Right. So, you know, again, like I said, everybody was given the same information and the same opportunity to enroll in whichever FPPA pension plan they wanted to. Some chose this one, which, like I said, is a very rich plan, a very high contributing plan. Some chose to only do the 10% and 10%, and that's what it was going to be. You know, so they were given that opportunity to choose what they wanted to do. Each officer had that opportunity that was here when we switched over to FPPA. Like I said, the new incoming officers, though, they're not given that option.
Okay, sounds good. Sorry about my ghostly appearance. I'm working on that. I'm really here. You know, I'm just at home, so it's kind of messed up. Anyhow, thank you, Jen.
So we have a motion and a second on this. So Nita,
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
Counselor Johnson,
Aye.
Counselor Segula,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2020-08.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, everybody. We'll go to ordinances. The second reading of ordinance 907, ordinance amending the table 2-3 use chart of the Monte Vista Municipal Code and removing the special review use designation for religious institutes and commercial highway and commercial business. Mike recommended that we table this, I believe, to the January 21st meeting for public hearing. And that way we can get complete clarification on this for ourselves as council, as well as the community.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I could on the date, obviously staff concurs with the city attorney's recommendation. But I'm thinking based upon the current trend of COVID, we might want to pick like February 18th of 2021. Because really the point is to have a public hearing that the public can attend. Zoom is difficult, and based on the current trend lines and you know, whatever you think of those, but it certainly is going up, and I think it's gonna be a little while. So honestly, I'd recommend February 18th, 2021 as a placeholder and see where the COVID stuff goes. If that's council's pleasure.
I like that idea because I would really rather have this in-house meeting instead of by Zoom.
I concur with that. So I move that we, help me here, table this until we can have a public hearing on February 18th, 2021. Table the
Ordinance 907.
public hearing for ordinance 907.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to have a ordinance 907 moving to a public hearing on February 18th. Is there any more discussion on this? Nita, would you please take the vote?
Counselor Johnson,
No.
Counselor Foster,
Nay.
Counselor Segala,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to table ordinance 907 to February 18th for public hearing with 3 yes, 2 no.
Okay, we'll move on to contracts, agreements, and leases, waste management price increase.
I do have waste management on here. I'm going to be unmuting her here.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, thank you. I hope I tried to put my camera on, but it doesn't look like it's on, but that's okay. It's good to see you all, even if you can't see me. I wanted to just walk you through this year. Your price increase is just a 3% increase per the water sewer trash index. So it's lower than last year. We're kind of seeing it even out a little bit. The water sewer trash is a little higher than some of the other index right now, and that's because of just what the trends we're seeing with COVID. So 3% is a pretty average increase, but what we're seeing with COVID, of course, is more disposal at the home as more folks are staying at home. So the weights in utilities, so that water sewer trash index that we're using, is definitely going up just because more people are at home longer and using those things like your trash. So that's really on the increase. And then the other thing I'd like to talk to you all about is I know that every year when we come present to you, we kind of try to get a feel of what we can do in the community. And I know last year we did a sponsorship for the Swoop of Cranes event. I know with COVID, things are definitely changing and maybe you're not having as many events, but I'd love to hear from you all what you'd like us to get involved in, as well as maybe I was kind of thinking some things we could possibly do. I think we'd be happy to take part in that parade. We could light up a trash truck. That might not sound that exciting, but we could make it cool for the community. As well as something we could maybe offer at the beginning of next year is maybe like a cleanup day with a couple, maybe 5 roll-offs or something for free for the town if folks wanted to drop by some stuff. So those are just some options to throw out there, how we can be a good community partner in 2021 as well, just like we feel we were in 2020. So just wanted to check in with you all on like that price increase, anything you suggest that we get involved in the community. And if you have any additional questions, I'd love to hear from you all.
Just this past week, or actually last week, everybody was given a note on their dumpster, something about you can't have the dumpster lid open anymore for the trash. And so like that, is that going to cause everybody to have to purchase a second dumpster?
No, I think it more lies with the awareness. Councilman, thank you for bringing that up. So we have that in our contract. We rarely enforce it. And a lot of this, once again, has to do with what we're noticing happening due to COVID. Is just we have a lot more weight at the curb. And so it requires, before when we could have seen our efficiencies coming through the town, we could have seen, we kind of knew how we could get through one neighborhood before having to go dump or whatever that looked like. Now our weights are just up at the curb. So we're really urging folks to, try to make sure that container lid is closed. Or at least I think it says like under 10 inches or something along those lines.
Okay. All right, thank you for that explanation.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So we should definitely take up waste management on the dumpsters for cleanup. Rob Vance could probably coordinate with Ellie. God willing, the creek doesn't rise and COVID goes down, we will try to do our spring cleanup the end of April, start of May. So that would be very helpful. And, you know, a trash truck in the Christmas parade would be fun too. So, but we definitely could use the roll-offs for spring cleanup. And like I said, hopefully we'll have that. We need it. And that's something we like to provide the citizens. So that'd be great for them to help us.
Yeah, just keep me in the loop and we'd be happy to provide some of those roll-offs, just make sure schedule-wise, but we could provide some of those roll-offs for free for the town for our partnership. And we often do, we don't do as many Christmas parades, but we do what we call truck or treats with the trucks. So we could jazz up something for the Christmas parade.
Ellie, is this number on this letter the number to contact you at?
Yes, that is my number, and I am currently working from home due to COVID, but that is the number to reach me at.
Okay. For the Christmas parade, it's I'm dreaming of a red, white, and blue Christmas, and I will have Jennifer contact you to get you the parade entry.
That'd be great.
Okay. I believe with the rate change, we have to vote on this. Am I correct, Forrest?
Sorry, muted. Yes, you would have to vote to approve that.
Okay. So we will need a motion to allow Waste Management to do this increase.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Did we get a second? I didn't hear.
Thank you.
Did you second that, Victor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second for Waste Management's 3% increase. And it looks to me, so is there any more discussion?
I am a little concerned about putting a price increase in this day and age where people are having problems maintaining employment and keeping jobs, and people are without jobs. 3% is not much. And then over the period that we have here, I looked at the numbers, and yeah, it's like, $1 a month or something like that. But I must admit that I do have a little bit of concern about adding a price increase. I was looking at the chart provided by Waste Management. I noticed that they were using an index that covers all of Colorado when they say it's a 3% increase. I'm not sure that prices in this area or costs in this area have gone up 3%. I don't know. And I seriously doubt that numbers are finite enough to be able to prove that. So I'm not sure I'm against this, but I'm a little reluctant about it.
Well, I'd love to be able to clarify. So the index that we use is actually not for all of Colorado. It's specific to an industry. So the water, sewer, trash industry. It's an industry specific index. And that's how we choose to use it, just because, that's exactly the point. We don't want to use the Denver urban index, because I think right now it's at like 4.5%, because it's going to look drastically different than, what our industry looks like in surrounding areas. And then in addition, these increase, and I understand during COVID times, no increase is preferable, but we also have to remember, for us, we have not stopped a day of service during this, and we have our essential workers out every single day making sure to clean up these streets. And for us, ultimately, it really is a business that we provide really, good paying jobs for our drivers and stuff, and need to maintain these contracts so that we can continue to be able to work in cities like Monte Vista Vista and continue to be able to give you all back kind of what we feel like we're getting it out of it, which is that community sense. So for us, we understand nobody likes an increase at this time, but also this is kind of a contractual annual thing that we bring based off inflation instead of kind of putting together a rate structure for 5 years at the start of the contract.
I have a question for you, Ms. Reynolds. The subject of recycling came up last time, and your company indicated that's not a possibility. I just wanted to get up to date on that. Has that changed any, or is that still the same?
It really hasn't, and I hate to say it's not a possibility, but it's not on the forefront right now, and really that has to do with where the recycling facilities are in the area. They're just too far away, and so it would really cost your residents just so much to be able to recycle. Just because the transportation costs to the recycling facilities would cost them more than kind of the bang for the buck on getting the recycled material, if that makes sense. So that's really our issue. We don't ever want to stop the conversation with you all because we know it's important to you and other customers that we have in the surrounding areas. So if we can find other options or other facilities open up that are closer, we will of course come and let you know. But for right now, it would just be so incredibly high for your residents.
Just curious if you've ever given the residents an opportunity to go ahead and, do the recycling, just because some people probably will, some people might not take advantage of it, but if it was an option, you know what I mean? Because the pollution isn't getting any better,
Right.
Just.
And it's a very good point. I think the other thing that we try to keep in mind is, once again, when we're talking about transportation, and you have a great point when you're talking about, environmentally, safe solutions, but we also try to think about how far these large trucks have to travel. And of course, there is wear and tear on the roads, and they're large trucks. So we also try to think about the truck impact that will go into transporting materials like this. And unfortunately, unless the whole town were to have it, we just wouldn't get enough volume. So this big truck would be coming out for maybe a handful of residents that would be paying maybe $30 to $40 for a recycling container, and we might have like 10 residents opt in. So that's really our concern, is we could maybe explore if the whole town had done it, but I also know that that would be a big undertaking.
I just know that the pollution is not getting better, and if there's not a chance to try to make it right, then there's nobody has that opportunity to recycle. Anyways, I just think that it's a pretty big deal. It'd be nice for at one point to have that opportunity.
I agree. And I just want to let you know that Waste Management's commitment to sustainability is really important, and we are doing it across, the rest of the state and the rest of the nation. Unfortunately, it's just the location in which you guys are at. It's just so far. And that is kind of our issue right now, is to take it to a facility that we have is relatively far away.
Ellie, I have a question for you. Based on what you talked about, like donating 5 roll-offs for spring cleanup, what would be the normal cost of a roll-up like that?
So a roll-off it'd be around $300 a haul, and then plus disposal. So whatever your disposal is around the time. So maybe $300 to $400 a haul, depending on the location, and then fuel and environmental, they normally charge you, which are fees for, once again, the truck cost. And then, like I said, disposal, it's hard to know what disposal costs at the time, but it's usually around $150 to roll off.
So roughly you're talking $450 to $500.
Yep.
Per roll off. So if you donated 5 of those, we're looking roughly $1,500 that you guys would donate.
Correct.
Okay.
And we'd also be willing with you guys, if you'd like to put out, like some sort of, when you start doing your cleanup, and I'm sure Forrest could work with me on this, as if you guys start doing your cleanup and you maybe want to put out a flyer or something, we could also provide that. So that would be a good value add as well. So we could take on the cost of mailing that and printing that as well for you all.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on this? Nita?
Counselor Johnson,
Nay.
Counselor Foster,
Abstain.
Counselor Segala, Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
So at this time, council, we do have a split vote.
Is there anything I can clear up for anybody in regards to this? It's normally a contractual price increase. I know that it's hard in the years of COVID, but is there anything I can clear up with anybody on the council? With the mayor?
Does anybody else have any questions for Ellie? And that, Ellie, that's why I ask about the roll-offs based on what kind of expense that would occur, because I know that it's, as Councilman Foster said, with the loss of jobs and stuff, that dollar could be a dollar's a dollar. Totally understand. And that I know that there's people that need cleanup that can't afford to go to the dump based on what it would cost them to haul that stuff to the dump. So that's why I was asking that question.
Yeah, and we are, just to clarify, it's not $1. It looks like the rate for your curbside containers is about 54 cents.
Mayor, if I can chime in for a second.
Yes, ma'am.
So the roll-offs that Ms. Reynolds is talking about, she's talking very lightly on the cost of those at $450. Most times when you have a junk pile like that goes into those big roll-offs, it costs closer to $750 to $800 to empty those things.
Yeah, and that's all dependent on disposal. So that's great background because you probably know the disposal you have in your town. And like I said, we also took part of like the swoop of cranes this past year, you know, to make sure that we're always giving back to your community. And that's part of, you know, why we have these annual meetings. I think, like I said, for us, we'd like this to be a pretty easy, you know, decision every year. So if there's any issues that we ever have during the year, please feel free to reach out. We don't see a lot of issues. You know, our missed pickup rate in your area is 99.8%. So we're not having service issues or anything like that. So please, if that's the case, please feel free to reach out to us.
Ellie, can you tell me when the Sunless Valley Fair happened? I know you guys have always been participants of donating for that. Did you do that this year?
I'm not sure because it's actually it's the sales team that does that because they actually set up in the area. It's the local guys. So I'm not sure. And I think because of COVID, I'm not sure if they were able to do it or if they, you know, paid or what that looks like, but that's actually a different department.
Make it big.
Sorry, I know that's probably not a great answer, but I know that we try to do as much as we can in the area. Unfortunately, there's a lot of different areas that, you know, there's commercial lines of business that your businesses use waste management in the area. And then there's things like this, which is your residential contract.
Okay, so on this, I'm sorry, Nita, I did not hear what Victor's comment was, what his vote was.
His vote was no.
So we're talking about a difference of 54 cents. Is that, am I correct in that?
Yes, Counselor. And the reason we do this is we, at the start, when we enter into a contract with all municipalities in Colorado, or across the, the US, when we enter into municipalities, we put in there that there's a line for a price increase, just like anything else that you all would have every single year. You'd have, whether you entered into an agreement with anybody else, you'd have an annual price increase based off of an index, which shows you what the rate of inflation has been, which that's what this index is. It's showing you that for water, sewer, and trash, the inflation rate has been at 3%. And we do that so that, we're not, obviously we're keeping up with inflation, and also so that your residents, when you do go out to bid another day and you do choose another hauler, that they're not having a big $10, $20 increase when they choose that next hauler, because that's the market. Hopefully your rates are staying in line with what's going on in the market.
Well, I think that I'd like to hear why some would not be okay with this. It's 54 cents. It's along with the rate of inflation. Prices go up. They just do. I mean, I'd love for prices to be what they were in the 1930s, but they're not. So maybe I'm just not seeing the scope here, but I'm still in favor of this.
Oh, I'd be open to reconsidering any number of things and pricing, whatever. I would like to. This comes up, of course, every on an annual basis, and what I want to do is I didn't realize this was coming up at this meeting, but I would certainly be open to having some discussion within the city with staff and management about our relationship with waste management, and that would be kind of important to me, more important than just the 54 cents or whatever the increase is going to be. And I'd be open to reconsidering that vote if we could get that discussion. Obviously not tonight, but if it's possible to reconsider, I would be open to that.
Well, we have a motion and a second on the floor with tie vote. So the motion to approve will fail based on that.
That is correct, Mayor. That does fail.
Okay. So based on that, I would say that, and what Gary just said, that we need to have some more communication with Ellie and kind of clarify this. So as it failed on this one, we need to have that discussion. So if we can at some point get clarification for all the councils.
Mayor, can I say one more thing? Sorry.
Yes.
So I just pulled our financials, and it looks like Waste Management pays almost about $13,000 to the city a year in franchise tax fees. So that kind of goes back to a financial question that Councilor Johnson was asking.
And I think just a reminder to the city as well. I mean, this is a contractual thing that we bring every year to you all. But we have, of course, I email Forrest all the time. I believe, you all can work with me whenever you'd like. It just, we normally work with the city manager in these scenarios as things come up. And we really have not had any bad feedback. We have, great service rates in your area. We have great verbatims from people taking service calls. So I guess I was unaware that there was an issue in the city, and hopefully, we can all resolve that, whatever the issue may be. But I also know that for us, we would maybe be willing to explore a different contract if this is the case every time.
if I could clarify something, this is a franchise agreement for a 5-year period from 2018 till 2023. And per the franchise agreement, I'm not speaking for or against this. It is up to the council to decide on an annual basis whether you wish to grant that rate increase. I don't know that overall there's any issues with the service that Waste Management provides its customers overall. I know there's that nagging issue of recycling, and MDS Waste, who is another one of our franchisees, does provide recycling. So I think that's a bit of an irritable point that I've heard from a few of the citizens. But point being that this rate increase is strictly up to the council to approve. We could certainly discuss it more later. You had a vote. The vote was tied, which means that the measure failed for tonight. We could bring it back at a future meeting to talk about. We're not generally in the habit of renegotiating franchise agreements in the middle of the franchise, and the rate increases due to that franchise agreement or at your discretion, council.
Forrest, you might just maybe get me a copy of the franchise agreement. I was not involved in this contract, but take a look at it, and then maybe we could look at it at the next meeting and see where we're at. I mean, we don't want to get into a breach of a contract issue if we can avoid it. So I think it would make sense to kick the can down the road to the next meeting, and let's see if we can figure this out.
I'll shoot that to you in a couple minutes, Mike.
Okay.
I was just going to say something else, just on a personal note. I also would like you all to know that I'm expecting in January and will be leaving on maternity leave. So if I could try to get everything wrapped up with the city on the next meeting, Forrest, if I could get on the agenda, that would be great, because I think we would like to continue pursuing this increase until everybody's concerns are taken care of.
Well, that would put us at the December 3rd meeting. So if we can get everything in order by then, Mike can have time to check everything out, and the council folks can get the information that they're requesting. And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. If I could, if everyone could maybe run through some of their concerns so I can make sure to have them prepared. I haven't heard a whole lot on the call tonight, except for the recycling, in which, we don't provide, and it's not in our agreement as well. But if there's concerns I can prepare for, I would appreciate to hear those.
Larry, did you have some questions that you would like for her to have answered?
No, I do not.
Neither. I'm just thinking.
If we're going to be pursuing this, and Mike is going to get some information between now and that next meeting, then that gives us an opportunity to talk about the salient issues, whatever they might happen to be, and then we can get back within some reasonable time frame here with you, Ms. Reynolds, with some of that information. And I don't see any problem with reconsidering it in at the next meeting, as long as we get some additional information.
And I'm sorry, can I just clarify, what is the additional information that you're looking for?
Well, that's what we want to discuss with the city attorney and management. I need to know what other services are doing and how that compares. And we're just a lot of simple issues, some of which we've dealt with before this last year, and nothing has come up since then. So I'd appreciate just getting up to date on our our relationship and our contract with your company.
And so Forrest, will you be sending around the contract, or would you like me to do so to the council members? Or I'm just making sure everyone's questions would get answered, and I'm kind of trying to understand what the concern is if it's not service related.
Right, well, I just sent it over to the city attorney and he can distribute it to the council members.
Okay.
They can read that over their Thanksgiving meal.
That sounds great.
That should put us all to sleep along with the turkey.
Right.
With the fan, little contract, good times.
All right, well, thank you. And I hope that you all reconsider at the next meeting, or maybe have some additional questions for me in the meantime, if any of them are, like I said, service related or anything along those lines.
Okay. Ellie, I know that fuel prices are kind of doing their wave and jump right now. That would be something that maybe would be beneficial to the group. I purchase a lot of fuel, so I know what that consists of for me, but that might be beneficial for the group to make me understand a little bit there. If you can have like kind of a breakdown of what you guys do just in the valley or in our area, maybe. I know it's not it's kind of like throwing a ball in the dark, but if you could do that, that would be appreciative. Yeah,
and that's kind of what that index is meant to do, that water, sewer, trash, is to, what the cost of inflation for trash pickup is meant to look like. I will let you know that when we do what we consider this our annual price increase, we don't exercise the language in the contract that says that we can come to the city and ask for additional resources to cover fuel and other items like that. We are not coming to you asking for extraordinary requests, which we do in other areas. We're just asking to keep up with inflation. What I can do is I can bring, how much we've seen disposal increase. And once again, we're not coming to the city asking to make up those costs in disposal that we are taking at the landfill either. We are just looking for, like I said, that 3% to keep up with inflation, which maybe something else, Forrest, if you could provide, is if you have other contracts that have the same annual language. I know the majority of municipal contracts have, APIs or CPIs attached to them.
One other thing to consider with the rate increase and the rate of inflation to keep in mind, in Colorado, the minimum wage for 2021 is going up by 32 cents an hour in January 2021. So that's going to play a factor as well.
Yeah, so these are all things I can try to bring back to you. It's going to be hard for me to dial in a number. That's exactly why we use the index, because that's what the index is taking into account for, right? Is the cost of wages going up, costs at the landfills going up, fuel prices. It's kind of meant to encompass all of those things. And I would also let the council members know that I feel like if came back and talked about this 3% and we're not able to recover the API, then we would probably pursue extraordinary requests for fuel disposal, all of those things, because we would have to make up that inflation for our costs somewhere.
Does anybody else have any questions? Sounds like we're gonna put this down to the December 3rd meeting.
Do you need a motion for that?
Motion to look to this. How would we word that?
Forrest, you're muted.
I love Zoom, sorry. Basically, you can just ask staff to place this matter on the next council meeting agenda. You already had a vote on it, but you can bring it back. So you would need the council tonight to vote to bring this matter back to the next agenda because it failed on the vote tonight.
And Forrest, can I ask a question? Is there a possibility that the council could, someone could put up a motion to reconsider, or is not per your ordinance or per your rules, you would make it next month?
Well, a council member could put up that motion to reconsider, but it seems like we're pretty divided tonight. It's possible.
I think the simplest is put on the, just to have it on the agenda for, without any special wording about it, just to, so we can gather some more information and we'll talk about it again next meeting.
Well, so Counselor, you need to have a motion to reconsider this matter on the next meeting's agenda because it did fail as a vote.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to take this waste management increase contract agreement to the December 3rd meeting. So we would ask the staff to put this on the December 3rd meeting. Is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Segola,
Aye.
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
Counselor Johnson,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to place the waste management price increase request on December 3rd's agenda.
I'll see you all then. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellie. Receiving approved financial reports, non-staff proposals, reports and actions. None. Council committee, city commission and council reports. Victor, would you like to start with council report?
I really don't have a whole lot except for, the recent events going on around the valley. I do want to just thank all of the departments, the police departments involved in the investigation, CBI, all of those guys. Just want to, pray for them. Thoughts goes out to to everybody involved in the situation. I was told that they found this person that they were looking for. So good job to the police department on that. So I just want to give the police department around the valley, all of them, just some kudos.
Thank you, Victor. Gary?
Not much, actually. I would just reiterate what Councilor Segola said. I was in on the discussion through Zoom, of course, and it was amazing to me, every little detail that was involved, including cooperation between agencies and, like Victor mentioned, the CBI. I noticed that the people on the list that's showing up as you're on this Zoom meeting were from the Front Range newspapers, CBS television, and some, it's huge operation. I didn't know that somebody had been apprehended. I guess that's what you were talking about, Victor, right? This character. And it's a pretty serious affair, and it was stirring to me to be involved in that and just see what was going on with all the cooperation and intense work that was accomplished. So yeah, I would reiterate that. Kudos to the law enforcement all over the valley, and in the as well as the state level. So
Very good. Thank you, Gary. Larry?
Evening, council. Through much harping and consideration from Margot, if anyone noticed, the trash is gone at the Diesel Mechanic on Adams Street.
all right.
They now have a dumpster, and it appears they are taking care of the situation appropriately, for which we are all now thankful. Other than that, stay safe, and we will pray that this goes away and we can get back to normal soon.
Thank you, Larry.
That took a lot longer than finding this this suspect by law enforcement.
Persistence.
I'm glad it's done. Yeah.
Martha?
Well, I like to add my thanks to our law enforcement, to the collaborative effort that they were a part of. They've put some closure to a horrible nightmare that some families have been living. Now the grieving process can begin, which is not much less of a nightmare, but it gives some forward movement. So thank you. And you know, that's not original, but I wanted to make sure that everyone knew, and our police force is really doing a very good, very, very good job. It has come to my attention that council is also over the judicial part of the judge in our town. Yet we never get a judge's report. We hear from Anika for Kids Connection. We hear from Jaime for the rec department. We hear from Jennifer for finance department. I've never even met our judge. And so I would like to extend an invitation for our judge to come and give us a judge's report. Along, not every single meeting, of course, I think just spaced out like everybody else is. And that's about all I've got. Oh, City Council is moving along well. They're also going to have some special hours for the holidays. They're not going to have another meeting, I believe, now until January. And
You
they're
said you said City Council, or did you mean
Chamber? I'm sorry, Chamber of Commerce. Thank you. They will be having Ag Conference on a different scale, in a different way. And I want to thank Jennifer Becker for coming up with a way to have a parade that honestly sounds very unique, and I'm anxious to see how that's going to go. I think that's a really great way to get people out and actually moving around town. So that's a good thing. And that's all I've got to thank. Thank you, council.
Thank you, Martha. Well, to back up Gary and Victor and Martha, as far as the law enforcement, what has happened here in the Valley is huge. Everybody that's been involved with ATF and the CBI, the U.S. Marshals have been involved in this as well, but all the local police and sheriff's departments, I watched that as well as Gary did. And it was very interesting to hear all the input that these gentlemen have and all the aspects that they come at and view it. And one comment that the chief of police in Alamosa made, which I thought was really good, as he told folks, this is a where this all happened is a very small community. It's kind of off the beaten path, and it's interesting to do the history research on that area. But the Alamosa police chief said, we're a small community. The valley is a fair-sized valley, but this community, we are a community, the whole valley. He said it has been good to bring us together to see how they all work. So we talk about that all the time in our council meetings, about community. When we were talking about the Sky High Park complex, the community being the whole San Luis Valley. So when you hear it from other aspects, other sides of the offices and all the people involved, it really felt good to know that we are a community. No matter what, agree, disagree, agree to disagree, we're still a community. And I still go with the fact that we're Monte strong. So with that, I have no more. We will adjourn the meeting until December 3rd. We will have to make the decision on if it's going to be Zoom or in chambers. Probably a little later to kind of see where we go with the COVID, if everybody's good with that. So as of, what is it, 7/24, adjourn the meeting to December 3rd. God bless everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving.
See ya, everybody.
Sir, you too, to all. Amen.